start with so we'll do a package. We'll do the C major scale, right, in position, and then you'll do the C melodic minor. So I'm just going to watch you play, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
All right. Great. C minor, C melodic minor. There you go, right? 2, 1, 0. Great. So how'd you think it went?
Pretty good, except for that last part.
Okay.
But other
Good.
than that,
Any other feedbacks? How do you think your intonation, your shifting, bow, anything, any feedback you can give me? What did you think?
I think there was a few shifts where I kind of I went a little too quick.
Right,
But
you kind of jumped the gun on that, and we didn't slide into it. You kind of just moved, and then placed down, right? What I really felt was very good in your playing was on the melodic minor, coming on the way back down, you really reached for that first finger, reaching back for the te or the lay and whatnot. I didn't see it, however, going up on the C melodic minor scale. We are so used to shifting back for that T-do crossing the string that we're not reaching back, we're kind of shifting back, but you want to reach back. Mm-hmm. So let's try C melodic minor again. I'm going to play along with you this time, and then when we cross over, we want to reach back with that index finger with the hand frame. We were kind of talking about that, right? Mm-hmm. And we wanted to reach back for the T and the do, right? So let's give that a try, and then we'll go back down again, and we'll see how it turns out. All right, now let's take a look at the Scarlatti we have here. So I'm going to hear the first 2 lines from you, right? And then we're going to go over a few of the treble spots, okay?
Yep.
All right, so let's see. Alright, so we're going to stop there. Good. Alright, first thing would be, in your tone production, I know you're worried about all the notes that are going on in the passage, right?
I was
but
getting a little close
you were very
bridge,
close to the bridge, right?
Yeah.
And that was causing kind of a scratching sound.
Yeah.
So the first thing, and the other thing we want to do is connect the string crossings very smoothly. So a really good exercise is to really divide and break apart, just break it down, really what's going on. And by that, I mean we don't want to do slurring and finger position stuff at the same time. We want to break down and work on certain techniques separately so they can come together. Kind of like how you would do with piano, practicing the separate hands. And that's basically what you have to do here. We take the bow for granted and say, oh, it's just going to do its job, right? No, but we really have to focus on that as a separate entity, right? And so by doing that, we're going to remove the left hand from the picture, right? But what we're going to do here is that we're going to count the subdivision. Because let me ask you, what is going on here? We have, so it's largo, you can count it as 8th notes, but it's 16th notes, right? But we have groups of 16th notes, right? And we have slurring. And then in the next measures, we have slurring 2, right? And then in the first measure, we have slurring 4. So the left hand is doing 16th notes. What's the right hand doing? It's doing something different.
Quarter notes.
Right. So good, exactly, right? So the 4 group of the 16th notes in one slur, that the right hand is doing the quarter note, right?
Mm-hmm.
And within the quarter note, it's doing the string crossing between D and A. Good. And then for the slurring 2, now the bow is doing 8th notes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So let's take that principle, and what we're going to do here is that we're going to do, so every note that is appropriate for each string, we're going to just say the subdivision. For example, it starts on D, which is on the A string, right? And then the second note is on A, 3rd finger, which is on the D string, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I just demonstrate the first group, it's going to be ba da da da, right? Because most of those notes are on the A string except for that one. So we're going to practice the subdivisions, and we're going to change the bow while doing that, right? So this way you're practicing the correct slurring and bowing now without the left hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's give that a try, okay? And so we're going to say the subdivisions, and we're going to do it for the first 2 bars, and then we're going to keep doing it for the second 2 bars. Ready?
Okay.
Here we go. Ready? Go. Ba da 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 ba da 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 ba da 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 ba da. Great. Right. I'm sorry. Keep going. Yeah. Right here. Now we're gonna do the 8th notes. Ba da ba da ba da. I'm sorry, yeah, that is a string crossing there. Sorry, my mistake, but you get the idea, right?
Yep.
Cool. So that's basically the idea. That's how I want you to practice this, because that's going to develop a lot smoother of string crossings and whatnot, so it's not predetermined of when your hand changes. It just knows, the muscle memory knows when to change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So let's take a look at, let's play through, actually, no, we'll skip the first measure for now. So what's going on over here? In the second measure, we have... right, and our intonation got off a little bit. Now we have something over here. Now don't look, it already says at the top of the page, so I can't ask you. We have a replacement, right? We have the 2-1, and then we have 4-3, right? How can we practice getting the intonation right? We gotta make sure we're in the right position.
Mm-hmm.
How do we practice getting the correct intonation?
Just...
Right. So pretty close, right? So you're off. So we're worrying too much about the intermediate notes or the notes in between, right? But if you break it into the big picture or the bigger notes, what do we have here? But we have D in the first group, and in the second group it starts on D again. So we have that replacement, right? So let's just try. So second finger on D. Good, and then we're going to do 4th finger. And it should be the same note. How can you check yourself? Open D, right? So you might even want to drone it and do it as a double stop, right? So let's try that. So let's try. Right, so 1 down bow, and then you don't have to do it in 1 slur. You can even break it down further, right? You know, down, up, right, and change it. Good. So just like before, we're separating the right and the left hand for the practice.
Okay.
Good. So that's one thing to look at. And then, so the last thing I wanted to look at here was, the rest of it was pretty good. I would just say, you know, your contact point needs some work. You know, not so close to the bridge. But the last part I want to look at is that when we have the C sharp, we have C sharp here, and then it switches between C sharp in A and D in A, right? Let's take that same principle of the double stop, because what is this but basically a chord, right? It's just kind of like arpeggiated or melodically brought out. Mm-hmm. So what I want to do, so let's find the, because you always want to base it on the lower note, correct? The A. So let's hear our 4th finger on A. Let's draw the bow. Good, and let's hear the top note, C sharp. Good, let's hear both of them together. Good, and then we have the close second on top of that and leave where the 4th finger is. So let me hear those 2.
Wait, what?
I'm sorry, so, right, so now we move to the second finger on A, right? Good, and you move to the 4th. Good. and that's how you would check the intonation. And then you say to yourself, well, how can I work on the bowing for this? Same exercise as before, except for it's 2 in a bow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me just hear you do the second half of this measure right here. Okay, now that we looked at that. Nice, not bad. Okay, so those are definitely some things to work on. Definitely with your melodic minor, C minor scale, right, with the shifting, and then also in your all for strings book, right, you always want to separate the slurs when you're working on the left hand, and vice versa. Remove the left hand when you're working on the slurs in the right hand, right? That and double stops and aural skills checking for your pitch is always the best way to go. Other than that, I think overall you're definitely getting a better sound for the instrument. So good work.
Thank you.